All right, we'll continue with Federalist Paper number 9. Here, Hamilton is going to remind you that all the critics that are saying Montesquieu, the French philosopher, has said that republics only work for small, homogeneous populations. And Hamilton is about to show the readers in 3-4 paragraphs that our critics, anti-federalists, have failed to tell you about some of the other parts of his writing. And he's going to share this with his readers. Let me read it to you. So this is Hamilton still introducing these next 3 or 4 paragraphs. So far are the suggestions of Montesquieu from standing in opposition to the general union of the states that he explicitly treats of a confederate republic as the expedient for extending the sphere of popular government and reconciling the advantages of monarchy with those of republicanism. So he says, look, even Montesquieu says that you can make a confederate republic by making a confederacy between multiple states. And what it will give you is the advantage of living under a monarchy, which is, in case there's an invasion, the whole system can react to it, just like living in a kingdom. The king looks at any invasion to his or her realm as an attack upon the whole body. So when it comes to defending, a confederate republic might act like a kingdom. An example is the 13 states, the 13 colonies that became 13 states, united under the first Constitution of the United States, the Articles of Confederation, and defended themselves and forced the British to the peace table. And he says you can also have, in a confederate republic, you can also have the advantage of having your republic to rule over yourselves. In other words, you'll have supposedly the best of both worlds. In case of invasion, you can unite. Otherwise, you can be absolutely sovereign. Nobody can mess with you. Nobody can tell you what you can do inside your territory. So he says, even Montesquieu gives you a hint of this. Now he's going to read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs that Montesquieu has written. Okay? I'll just read the whole thing, okay, all the 5 paragraphs, and then we'll talk about it. It is very probable, says he, Montesquieu says, that humankind would have been obliged at length to live constantly under the government of a single person, had they not contrived a kind of constitution that has all the internal advantages of a republican, together with the external force of a monarchical government. I mean a confederate republic. So this is what Montesquieu says. Even Montesquieu says that you have to think anew. You have to, he says contrive. Contrive means to build something, to play with something and build it by experiment. So he says even Montesquieu reminds you that you're not to live the rest of your lives under an absolute monarch. You can build a system that will be good for your prosperity, peace, happiness. So you're not to live under a monarchy for the rest of your life, under a tyrant, like human beings have done for so long. She says there are other ways. Okay, this next paragraph, still by Montesquieu. This form of government is a convention by which several smaller states agree to become members of a large one, which they in turn to form. It is a kind of assemblage of societies that constitute a new one, capable of increasing by means of new associations till they arrive to such a degree of power as to be able to provide for the security of a united body, which we know. You unite, you become strong. In case there's an invasion, you can defend yourself. The next paragraph. A republic of this kind, able to withstand external force, may support itself without any internal corruptions. The form of this society prevents all manner of inconveniences. You might, under this system, be able to either reduce or come close to getting rid of corruption. Next paragraph. If a single member should attempt to usurp the supreme authority, he could not be supposed to have an equal authority and credit in all the Confederate States. Were he to have too great influence over one, this would alarm the rest. Were he to subdue a part, that which still would remain free might oppose him with forces independent of those which he had usurped, and overpower him before he could be settled in his usurpation. So he's saying that in this system, let's say look at the United States. He says, Montesquieu says, in this imaginary Confederate Republic that he's talking about, he says, if New York decides to throw her weight around and start bossing other states, starts either forcing them to do things that they don't want to do, or maybe even go take part of their land, then the other states will say, uh-oh, one part of us is usurping her authority, and we have to stand up to that part. In the next paragraph, it says, should a popular insurrection happen in one of the Confederate states, the others are able to quell it. Should abuses creep into one part, they are reformed by those that remain sound. The state may be destroyed on one side and not on the other. The Confederacy may be dissolved, and the Confederates preserve their sovereignty. He says, let's say there's a uprising or insurrection amongst the enslaved population of South Carolina, which had a lot of enslaved people. Then the other states, if they want to, they can come to the rescue of South Carolina. Or if, let's say, the state of Massachusetts accepts a policy that is not good, then the other states will watch and see whether it has worked in Massachusetts or not. And if it hasn't, they won't do it in their side, in their states. So that mistake is not repeated in their state. So he says these are the advantages that we can see. And another part, he says even if the Confederacy is destroyed, the states will lose nothing. They go back to where they were. They keep their sovereignty and carry on with their lives. And the last part, as this government is composed of small republics, it enjoys the internal happiness of each, and with respect to its external situation, it is possessed by means of association of all the advantages of the large monarchies. So Hamilton quoted these 5 paragraphs. He's saying that our critics are not saying this part of what Montesquieu said, even though he doesn't necessarily agree with everything Montesquieu says. But he wants to prove a point. He wants to say, look, our opponents are not truthful with you, only tell you part of the story. But as we progress, as we read the rest of the Federalists, you'll see the system that they proposed is a federal system, definitely different from what Montesquieu had in mind. And since I think I can't prolong this video, we'll come back and talk more. Just remember that the first time I read the Federalists, it took me a long time. I had to reread it, then refer to books to understand it a little better. So I'm trying to help you get to a point where you can start reading some of the books that I've shown you and really fill in the gaps. So just keep that in mind, and I'll keep on giving you pointers, the stuff that I learned that will help you. So don't be discouraged and disappointed if everything doesn't come to you like that. It just takes a while. We have to go through all of the 85 essays for it to kind of make sense. So hang in there.